Welcome everyone. It is April 11th, 2024, and I was going to wait to do this video, but I came across some people who don't know what air grafting is, and it's one of the most important things that I've ever learned. So I wanted to make sure I get this video as soon as possible because I know there's a lot of people that have much better weather than me. And I did find that the ground around one of the apple trees in my yard, the snow has melted a bit. And when I came out to check, they look pretty good. There actually looks like some buds on these branches. Let's see. Oh, maybe you could see this one here. Let me see here. It's a bit difficult outside with these iPhones. They're horrible for focusing. But let me see here. Okay, I guess not. But this branch, well, a lot of these branches have, pull it down in the snow maybe, they have a lot of nice looking buds on them. So what I did was I picked a branch. No, that's not my house. That's not my house. That's just a house next door that's been vacant for many years. Bought, sold, nobody moved in, but it's also unlivable, so that doesn't help. But I'm not going to complain about no neighbors because no neighbors are good neighbors. So I want to show you the branch I picked. I'm going to air graft, not regular graft. I'm going to air graft. And I picked this branch because there's a good section where there's no branches. Even here, that's a good section there. But I like this. And see, I want to pick a spot where there's a bud because I'm more likely to get better root growth out of there. So first thing I'm going to do is pick my branch. You can pick any branch that you want. Now the bigger, like the thicker and the longer the branch, the longer it's going to take to get roots to grow out of your branch. So you can take a small little branch like this one here and just do like one branch, like a small one like this. You can take a little stick, but I have very little patience when it comes to growing stuff in trees. So I want this one here with lots of buds and a nice little trunk space for my tree. So what you're going to do is you're going to need to pick a spot. Okay, my camera, I'm trying to do this with one hand, so my camera may wobble a bit. Sorry for that. You're going to pick a spot, and that is the spot where you're going to want to cut your branch off at. Do not cut your branch. You just want to pick your spot. So this one here, of course, the left will be the top of my tree. And right here, there's a bud. Okay, you might be able to see it. There's a bud right there. I'm going to pick this spot here. I'm more likely to get a good root base. So I'm going to... Now, I personally have never had a pocket knife or anything ever in my life. And I don't want to spend a lot of money on something that I'm using on trees and possibly be ruined. So I'm just using this, like, 24 or 26 in one that I got on Amazon for, I think it was $12 or $15. So I thought that it just seemed like a great deal. It has a lot of features in it, but I just need a knife. Why pay like $20 and $30 for a knife if I could buy one cheap? So you're going to pick a section to cut. You don't cut all the way through. Let me just see here. I will make my cut and then I will explain it. Let's maybe go here. Okay, so let me see. All the way around. So what you're trying to do is just cut through the layer of bark. That is all. You just want to pull the bark off of this section here. Okay. see if I can show you. Okay, well, okay, I guess if you spend more money and get a better knife, it would be much easier, but this is fine. You can see. Now, normally, this here would come off much easier, but you want to get, there's an actual layer. So, I don't know if you can see it, but there's an actual, like, layer here. And this here is where you are going to get your roots to grow. Now, I have seen people do the next step in a few different ways. So I'm not saying that the way I do it is the only way or the best way or the only way that'll work. I am just saying that this is how I do it, and this is what I know works. I have seen people use the plastic balls. I've not used them yet, but I do want to try them. I will have to try and get some of those just so that I can show you. Okay, I think this for the most part is fairly good. Now, once you have, I'm trying to get better there, and get a little better view of the color, I think maybe. It's difficult out here because I cannot see very well on my screen. It just looks really dark. So anyways, you're going to cut just your layer of bark off. Take your knife and start scraping like this. Just enough that, like this. You don't want to scrape a whole lot. You just want to get a nice, let me just see here. Okay. I'll show you once I'm done here. It's just a little difficult. Okay. So, I'm trying not to break my branch. Okay. Now, I have scraped this. Not a whole lot. You just need to scrape it a little bit. You just want to really expose some of the little fibers here. Okay. Now, once you have that exposed, I am going into my bucket, pail thing, and I'm going to get my rooting powder. You can use whatever rooting powder you like. I'm not going to say one works the best because I don't know. I've only ever used this one. But I will say that I have come across a lot of people who have used natural things, and that may work. I personally have saved pear trees that looked dead, and the store was going to throw them out because they didn't have any roots. When you buy a tree, you should always pick it up by the bucket, not the trunk, because when you pick the trunk up, often the soil is so heavy with the roots, you actually pull the roots right off the trunk and then the tree dies. But I was able to fix that with honey. I used raw unpasteurized honey and saturated it, put it back in the dirt, and the pear trees started blooming. So I got 3 pear trees for $20 total, and they were $80 a piece. Now, usually you'd want to add like some water. I just put a little bit of melted snow, but if you had I forgot a spray bottle. If you have a spray bottle, you can spray it with a little bit of water. You don't have to, but I've seen some people do that. Now, I'm going to take my rooting powder. I'm using a paintbrush. You don't have to. You could just use your fingers, but I'm going to do this. Okay. Now, oh wait, no, I want a kind of a chunk. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. Okay. So I'm going to saturate this here. Yeah, see, if you have water, it's going to stick better. So I am actually going to do this because these rooting powders only come in these tiny little jars. So here we go. I actually don't see people using water, but I just think it makes more sense. So just gonna get this a little wet. And then this should stick a bit better. Move you up here. Okay, so that is a bit better. Okay. So you can just use your hands. You can, like, you know, push it in with your hand. But I want to get as much stuck on here as possible. I'm not going to paint it on because I don't want to mess up the parts I just scraped. But I do want to get as much as possible on here. And all in the back too. It's definitely easier if you have two people. One person can make a video and one person can do the work. So you could try this with raw, unpasteurized honey. That may work. I know I got roots, all the roots to grow back on pear trees that were $90 at the store, but they looked almost dead. They had no roots at all, not one root. And I just put the whole little trunk in a jar of honey, got a big glob of it all around the bottom, and then just put it back in the dirt. And then a few months later, it just started blooming. So you could try that. Some people use aloe. I don't know if aloe works, but I have tried honey. So now we have that done. We're gonna come in the bucket, and I need my bag of soil and my knife and my tape. Okay, so now the next part, you're gonna want, now normally I use very large Ziploc bags because I will actually graft like the whole branch because I don't want to wait for a tiny little branch to grow into a tree. I want the whole branch, so I will do like a huge branch. So I usually use large bags, but I'm just making this video just to show people. So this is what I had on hand right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this like this. Now, some people will cut it like that and just leave it, but I actually like to cut a section out there like that. And then I fold this back and I'll cut a little here. Not too much, just a little bit. And this is just because I don't want too much plastic touching my rooting powder and wrecking it. Okay, put my knife down. Okay, so we have our bag of soil. I actually forgot to fill the bag with soil. So when I came out here and realized it, I was not walking all the way back because the snow's not melted. And there's still like 3 feet of snow I had to trek through. So let me zoom in. I used a stick and I dug a hole in the soil, which is extremely soft and rich. This is decades and decades and decades of leaf mulch. So this is actually probably going to be so much better than store-bought. So maybe that's a good thing I forgot to fill the Ziploc bag with soil. So you're going to fill with soil and you're going to make sure the soil is wet. Not like muddy, but you want it to be good and wet because this is going to sit here for 2 months and you want to make sure that you have lots of water for your roots to grow. So take your bag, you see here, and you're going to put that right around here. And you're going to go like this. Now, some people use zip ties. I do have a bag of zip ties. I've never used them. I always use packing tape. Zip ties would probably be good, but of course, anytime I need something, that is when I can't find it. So today I am trying to get the packing tape with one hand. I think I got it. Oh, okay, well, I got a piece of it. Just a moment here. It's such a beautiful day. So here we go. So I'm going to just use packing tape. Okay, it's messed up a bit here. Let's see. You could use, I mean, if you have duct tape, use duct tape. It doesn't actually matter. You just want to make sure that this bag is fully secure around that roots. And you want it tight, but not too tight. You know, you want to make sure that those roots can grow into the soil. So you can see it's not exposed where I put my, oh my goodness. Okay, there. Move this over here. Okay, so it's not exposed where I had my rooting powder. So you want to make sure that your soil is good and tight around your part where you are air grafting. So the whole point of this is you are going to get roots growing out of your branch. Okay. So again, depending on the size of a branch that you're grafting, it's going to depend on how long it takes the roots to grow. So I'm just doing a small one so I can show you. Oh my goodness, okay. Actually, that's going to be good enough. I've seen people do this, but I've never been able to get this trick to work. Yeah, it just doesn't work. So my teeth work just as good. Okay, so now you have this here taped up, nice and firm, but you don't want it too tight because you do want to give the roots some space to grow. Now, next step, you want to make sure that when the roots start to grow, even before then, you do not want your soil to dry out. So, how do you get the light to stay out of the roots and like out of the soil? You do not want light on your soil. You don't want it to dry out. So you use aluminum foil. And I'm going to this. Okay, so you do not need a whole lot of aluminum foil. You just need to make sure that you've blocked out all of the light. Now, once I've done that, I then put more packing tape, and then I'll explain what the next step is. So I'm just gonna get my packing tape here. Oh my goodness, what a mess here. Okay, and I'm just gonna like this. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything like that. It just needs to keep the aluminum foil on here. So, okay. And almost done. So that's good enough. And now we're finished. So very simple, very easy, super fast and quick if you're not having a camera. So now the next step, well, my next step is to do this to a whole bunch more branches. You don't want to do too many because if you take too many, it could affect your tree. But I mean, if you're going to prune your tree and you're going to cut maybe a quarter of the branches off, you might as well air graft those. And now you have a whole bunch of free trees. So I'm going to do a whole bunch more of these branches. Not too many, but like the ones hanging down low. And they're beautiful, fairly new branches. So after you're done air grafting all of the branches that you want to do, and it doesn't have to be an apple tree, any tree you want, even cedar trees and like sugar maple trees, whatever trees, you can do this. So in general, this should only take about 60 days and then it's ready. So in about 60 days, so 2 months, I will come out and I will take my knife and I will cut a slit in the aluminum foil, and I will check and see if I see roots growing through the Ziploc bag, like inside the Ziploc bag. If I see some roots, then what you do is you just take your pruning shears or whatever cutters you have and you're just gonna cut. So I would personally, I'll cut like right here. And then that way my roots are not right at the bottom of my 5-gallon bucket. This will give kind of like a little bit of a drainage. So I will personally cut my branch further down from the roots. You can do whatever it is you want, and you don't have to put it in a bucket. When you cut this off, you can pick wherever you want it in your yard, dig a hole, and put your branch in there. And now you have your tree growing. So I'm personally doing 5-gallon buckets because I'm hoping to sell this house and move to a different location where it's just better for me and I'm not so close to the road. It's severe anxiety for me because I've been traumatized from the life in the city and all the stuff that goes on there. It's just horrible. I just don't like being right next to the road. I don't want to hear cars. So I'm not really worried about how many trees I cut because I'm bringing all my trees. Whenever I move, I'm bringing all my trees that I've air grafted, and I want to make sure everything's ready. So as soon as this house is sold and I can buy the land that I want, I can just quickly hurry up and load up all my trees on a trailer and go. So I'm personally doing 5-gallon buckets. If you plan on moving in the next year or two, it might be a good idea to also do 5-gallon buckets instead of putting stuff in the ground. And I will say that I would be very careful though before air grafting, because I personally don't know much about trees. I'm new to all of this, but I would see if you can find somebody that's very good with just identifying things with trees that can identify their health. So sometimes you might see something like this and you might say, is that normal? Is that good? Is that not good? What is that? And so sometimes you may be air grafting a tree that is actually not healthy. So that's not going to do very much for you in the long run. And it's just kind of a waste of your time and your resources. So I think it would be a good idea, if you're able to find somebody who can come with you and let you know what trees look really healthy. Or maybe there's branches. Some branches might look really healthy. Some branches might seem healthy, but the tree is bad. And sometimes there's branches that are bad, but the tree is good. So I would use a lot of caution in what branches that you graft and the overall health of the tree. So I personally have no idea. So I'm just doing the best I can with what I have and hope for the best. But if you are able to have somebody find you trees that they know look really healthy and don't have any issues, that would be best. So for example, I don't know if you can see it, but because my screen looks really dark, I can't see what you can see. I just see black. So sometimes people will come and say, oh my gosh, what is this? It's like a fungus growing on my tree. So for people who don't know, there's a lot of people who are very new to this because we were not taught. So many people are not taught basic things. So if I look at this, I don't